Money FM 89.3. Best of breakfast. Morning Shot.
Welcome to Morning Shot with me, Audrey Seek, and Imad Akhtar. Imad, do you feel appreciated at work?
Sometimes yes, sometimes maybe.
Oh no, I gotta be better at this. But feeling valued and appreciated is often dismissed as a nice extra, a feel-good gesture reserved for maybe your birthday, long service awards, or company town halls. But new findings suggest it could be far more critical than we think.
Randstad's 2025 Singapore survey shows nearly 9 in 10 employees believe a sense of community helps them perform better, and lack of appreciation ranks among the top 3 reasons staff feel discouraged across all age groups.
In a time of high burnout, job anxieties, and fierce competition for talent, could appreciation be the overlooked fix for keeping employees motivated and keeping them around? Joining us to break this down is Jasmine Liew, CEO of Breakthrough Catalyst and the premier partner of Appreciation at Work. Jasmine, good morning.
Good morning. I appreciate to be here today.
Yeah, Jasmine, I was just about to say we appreciate your time, but you beat me to it. So first things first, why do you believe that appreciation deserves more attention in workplaces today, and what tends to get overlooked about its potential impact?
Every day we see this powerful letter I that overwhelm us, which is artificial intelligence. But actually we forget about appreciation because that's the basic human needs of being affiliated to people around you. And I think just like today morning when I came to News Center, the first person who greeted me was just an employee who said, hello, good morning, and eye contact. I was feeling so good. So I think it's very important for us to go back to the human connection. And day in, day out, we spend so much time at work, be it in person or virtual or hybrid, more with our family members at times. Isn't that good to actually create appreciation at the workplace to make us feel more motivated, more engaged, and definitely can contribute more to the organization?
Yeah, so, from what we've seen and from what you've seen, there are some red flags that we should look out for that might actually show that a workplace lacks authentic appreciation. We see a lot of, showy kind of, we are a family kind of narrative. What things should we look out for, even if things look fine on the surface, but there's actually something more deeper than that?
That's right. Earlier you mentioned that appreciation is it town hall events, year-end parties. That is actually good to have in the form of yearly events. That's why we give standard corporate gifts. But I think most important is the daily behaviors of leaders and team members appreciating each other, including our colleagues and leaders. So we always started with a data point to know what is the root cause with employee engagement survey. So through the survey results, we do find that our employees feel that they feel unappreciated, in terms of their leaders or their colleagues. And from these data points, we see what we can do to help leaders to better appreciate their team members. And like what you mentioned earlier, it's also about being authentic. We don't want to appreciate just like a to-do list or do it only during Appreciation Day or Appreciation Month itself.
Yeah, can we get a little bit more into the specifics of the different forms that appreciation takes? Are we talking verbal cues like a thank you or good job, or are we talking about giving staff greater responsibilities when they've proven their worth and can go above and beyond their job scope, for example?
Right, so that comes actually originate from the 5 love languages from Dr. Gary Chapman, and the workplace context, we don't call love language, we call appreciation languages. And earlier in your sharing, you talked about pat on the back. Yeah, so that's a physical touch, but not everybody likes physical touch, especially in the workplace. So there are actually 5 languages of appreciation. The first is words of affirmation, not just praise for results, but also encourage them for trying and learning. Next is quality time, spending one-to-one in a team conversation that's focused without your gadgets with you, or even team conversation. Next, we have acts of service. So acts of service is to find out what kind of pain points you have, what kind of problems you face, and how can I help you. And that could also mean like what you mentioned earlier, like I have some employees, maybe they want career development. So that comes from the angle of trying to know what are their learning and career development needs. The 4th language is give. So buying things that you like, not all the corporate standard gifts. And lastly is a physical touch through a handshake or high five or pat on the back, depending on the appropriate context.
Okay, so actually all of the 5 languages of appreciation at work coincide directly with the 5 love languages. Why is this framework so powerful for leaders who want to value people better?
I think it breaks down to easier components. I think the first thing is leaders also feel that I have appreciated my employees, but why they do not feel appreciated. So we actually get them to understand that there's a difference between recognition and appreciation. Recognition starts with R, so that's results based. It's based on performance, your KPIs, and that's based on awards and rewards. But we want us to do better in the forms of appreciation that can be done anytime, anywhere, to anyone that you truly want to appreciate. And there's actually 5 ways to do it. The most common ways is, of course, words of thanks and welcome or maybe encouragement. But I think we need to go beyond that. For instance, like spending time with the person to check in, to see how he or she is coping, have a conversation together without multitasking, giving your attention to the person. Next, I think the key thing in Singapore, data point we found out in 2019 from Dr. Paul White and myself, actually Singaporeans love acts of service besides words of affirmation. That means don't tell me how good am I, show me that you care, show me that you understand my problems and you're going to help me to solve my problems. And the 4th language which most leaders will give is actually gifts. That is food. Our makan sessions, we get together, but actually employees feel that this food sessions is like once a while and may not really relate to them unless it's personalized. Okay, so in the workplace context, we don't really share so much about physical touch, but it's critical depending on your comfort level. But I think that's very important. Sometimes when we have words of affirmation, we actually have a handshake and eye contact with the person, and that actually uplifts the conversation with the person.
Okay.
I want to talk about how different appreciation looks within the workplace in small and large businesses as well as in flat and hierarchical structures, because I would imagine that in a flat structure like a startup, for example, which may foster a more informal environment, it's probably easier because there's not a chain of command you have to follow, versus in a legacy organization, you do follow that clear chain of command. Does the tone in which you appreciate someone matter in those cases?
Great. We have actually got a profile tool called Motivating by Appreciation Inventory that is industry-based as well as looking at different professions. So from this profile, I think leaders first know about themselves, because you need to know what appreciate you, because we all have our own language of appreciation and we can better appreciate someone. So coming from this organization, whether are we flat or hierarchical or small, medium enterprise or big companies, I think appreciation doesn't really apply to the structure, but rather what kind of language of appreciation you prefer as a leader and different team members. So the paradox that leaders always share with me that I've appreciated my people. Why is it not enough? How come the data points from survey shows otherwise? And the issue is what makes you feel appreciated may not make another person feel appreciated. So I think that's talking of data points that we want employees and leaders to, regardless of which level they are or what kind of organization, they can still talk about understanding themselves and the team members and have an open conversation. So it actually helps companies to discover the blind spots. And because it's open disclosure, it's not like a tool, it's profiling tool, whether it's the best or profile or not. It's about what kind of food you like to eat. So if I know what language of appreciation you like, for instance, you may like words and you may like quality time, I know how to better appreciate you effectively because I'm speaking the language of appreciation that you like.
Yes, but what if the organization has like 500 people? How do you cater to everyone's individual language of appreciation? Do you have to cover most bases in order to make sure that every member of your workforce feels like they're valued?
Great. So in the department, of course, it's smaller. We can have this team conversation and we can realize each other's appreciation. So sometimes in organization, they will actually put a little things on their table and say, what are my top 2 language of appreciation? Oh. Right. The other context is also coming at a point that we may not remember everyone's appreciation. The key thing is also for us as employees to also understand why my leaders do not show appreciation effectively, because through this profile, I know that his or her blind spots. For myself, I'm not so strong in quality time. So my employees may understand that why Jasmine doesn't really spend time to have check-in conversation and have this quality conversations over meals and breaks. And now they were able to empathize that is not my strength. And they can come from this angle to know that, yes, now I know how to understand my leader. He or she may express appreciation differently. And we also want the leader to build these blind spots once they discover. Because, for instance, if you know that your preferred language is words, can you imagine you cater words for everyone and maybe 50% of people don't feel appreciated because they don't like words? They will like acts of service. Don't tell me how good am I. Can you show me how you're going to help me in my work? And that means 50% of people may feel unappreciated. So we want leaders to also realize that they need to work on the other languages that is not their comfort zone, and how can they practice to master the 5 languages of appreciation, not just one.
Yeah, Jasmine, I also want to touch on where one can draw the line between genuine appreciation and contrived appreciation, because I imagine if it's in the case of the latter, if you're doing it just for the sake of optics and you don't have great people skills or you're an introvert, it can lead to a false sense of one's worth and perhaps even lead to complacency. Is that a fair point?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, from the team members' perspective, sometimes they really feel that I can sense whether my leaders is appreciating me sincerely. And one of the observations is when there are strings attached. So for instance, like I praise you for a job well done, so-and-so, can you do this more? Can you take on this? So there's the strings attached to make me feel good, but there's underlying intention. So I think employees can feel it like you actually have a purpose. You're not really appreciating me effectively, but you just want to make me feel good. And thereafter, you add on certain tasks without asking me whether, am I okay? Am I ready for it? Can I cope with it? And the next thing is, of course, nothing can beat from sincerity is eye contact and a smile. Sometimes leaders do appreciate because it's the appreciation month.
Oh.
Yes, that's also before the employee engagement survey results.
No excuses then.
I used to be in human resource, right? So we can see that it's like a tick in the box. I've spoken to this person. I passed this gift to this person. And you can feel that there is no sincerity. Number one, the eye contact is lacking. When they describe what you've done well, it's totally general. They can't specifically tell you what you have said, what you did well, and it's very generic for everyone. I think that can be seen as very fake. And it's only a certain period you feel appreciated, but most of the time you don't see that happening.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're out of time, but we have so much to talk about. But I'm looking at you and I'm smiling at you, Jasmine. And I want to thank you for coming and joining us on the show today. It really shows that a little genuine appreciation can really go a long way, not just for morale, right, but for keeping teams strong and connected. And Ahmad, my language is acts of service.
Okay, I was just about to say my biggest takeaway from this interview is that Audrey needs to buy me more gifts. But we will discuss at the conclusion of this interview. Jasmine, thank you so much. We sincerely appreciate your time on the show. Jasmine Liew is the CEO of Breakthrough Catalyst and the premier partner of Appreciation at Work. And you're listening to Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.